Speed Racing Network's 5th season has officially begun. The season opener is upon us here at the big bad super speedway that is Daytona. High speed, close quartered racing action is coming up. And I am Emerson Arn. I have my colleague Adam Schaefer alongside myself in the virtual booth this evening. And we're very excited to be bringing you live coverage of the Speed Racing Network Z Grill's Xfinity Series here on the iRacing.com motorsport simulations platform. Adam, we're here at the virtual World Center of Racing in all of its glory. Would you please enlighten the viewers on just what it's like to race here at Daytona?
How's it going, everyone? Happy to be in the booth today. Thanks for the intro, Emerson. I was racing I'm currently racing in the Fiver Truck Series. That's the B class truck series. I kind of describe it as like the junior varsity series for Speed Racing Network. And we had our race at Daytona this Tuesday. And what makes the super speedways in iRacing so exciting is because of the limitations of the racing simulator. The super speedways, you're able to recreate a lot of kind of what it's like in real life super speedway racing, in that it's less about the track per se, and it's all about the interactions between the other drivers and the decision making of when it's time to make a move and when it's time to pit, making the decisions on who to go with and who to block. And so it leads to some really exciting racing that looks a lot like what you'll see in real life.
Absolutely. And of course, we have a great cast of drivers showing up tonight for, of course, the Speed Racing Network Z Grill's Xfinity Series. Adam, it's time to meet the teams, and we're going to kind of go through each one of them relatively quickly, but we'll just kind of shout out just one little thing we can about each team as they appear on the screen. So let's go to it. Meeting the teams here of the Z Grill's Xfinity Series. And of course, coming up first, we have the Bandits Motorsports. Bobby Anderson leading the charge there, has a lot of experience on his side to take these drivers to some nice places. Tasty Chassis there, we have Sean Powell kind of leading the charge there. Elliott Sadler Esports, Dave Robertson and Paul Bliss, a couple of new guys to the series. It'll be interesting to see how they fit in tonight. Of course, Jonathan Byer Racing, the drivers that kind of take everything on here. Jonathan Byer, of course, the new owner of Speed Racing Network, and he's going to be leading the JBR to their glory tonight. Phoenix Virtual Racing, we have James Harris, Bad Film, Scott Kalal is the name I recognize there. Racing him has been a lot of fun. He'll be sure to bring a lot of experience and cleanliness here. Tank Racing's got a lot of speed on their squad. That's a lot of great drivers there, and independent part-time drivers. Yeah, Danny Dow, Doc Holiday, Adam Pettit, Kyle Ryan, and Scotty Reinscheld. Those 5 drivers are drivers who have yet to find a home or just going to be kind of taking part in whatever races they can here tonight. But Adam, that's kind of how we're going to wrap up here with our intro, our pre-race, because the field is gritting up and getting ready to do battle tonight here at Daytona. Of course, the starting order was set by the duels last week, and so it's time to head through our starting lineup. And of course, row number 1, Dustin Montgomery is our pole winner. Tyler Justice, driver starting outside of row number 1. Row 2, Blake Hensley in the number 31 machine. Christian Swenson in the number 10 machine starts off in row 2. Row 3, Jonathan Byer, Max Service. A couple names that have definitely had some time here in the series. Jonathan Cofield, James Harris rounding out row 4. Logan Truitt and Adrian Schumacher rounds out the top 10. Adam, why don't you walk us through 11th through 20th?
All right, so we got the graphic we have Gabriel Ellison starting in, oh no, here we go, pardon me. We got Jackson Wade starting in 11th, Gabriel Ellison starting in 12th, Seth Reed and Brandon Burkhart in the 6th row, Daniel Robertson 15th, Shane Powell,
Yep, Jesse Nukula starts 17th, Paul Bliss starts 18th, Nathan De La Rosa 19th, and Bobby Anderson rounds out the top 20. Find our way back to row number 11, we'll find it'll be Drew Ballesteros and Scott Kalal. Seth Berger starts 23rd, Adam Pettit 24th. Kyle Ryan will start 25th. Daniel Dow, 26th. And John Holiday rounds out our 27-car grid this evening. So slightly smaller than the 30-car grid we had on tap for last night's race in the Glitch Truck Series. But tonight, V-Strivers in the Z-Grills Xfinity Series will be dealing with some different conditions. The trucks may be a little easier to drive, but tonight, these Xfinity cars, we're fighting tire wear, we're fighting just different conditions, a different draft package, and different fuel loads. And now the field that is 13.5 rows deep is doubled up and getting ready to do battle this evening. I want to thank you all for tuning in and joining us this evening for some great late racing action. And these drivers will be sure to put on a show as the iRacing.com safety vehicle finds its safety down in the pit lane. The field in the hands of Dustin Montgomery, and we are racing from Daytona. Lap 1 complete, and it is Tyler Justice out in front of the field and is leading the way in that high side. We saw the high side really bring a lot of speed last night. It was kind of the charging lane, the lane if you wanted to make moves, you were jumping up to that high side, and it becomes the lane that starts to dominate early here, just lap and a quarter in. Tyler Justice leading, looks like Christian Swenson on that high side, and now looks like Max Service gonna be the third car on that high side, trying to pull clear of that inside lane. And with the momentum it has this early, we have yet to see cars abandon ship off that inside lane just yet.
The outside lane can tend to be quite fast for, especially on the restarts, but the inside line tends to be the most consistent. And as you see, there's the longer line of cars on the inside, and that will be the case for much of the race. And so where the action tends to be right now, if folks are behaving themselves, is at the back of that outside line. You'll see there how there's probably 10 cars where they could go advance quite a few positions if they were to move from the back of that inside line to the outside line and catch up. But at the same time, the inside line provides a lot of stability. It can be easier to avoid wrecks when you're down on the inside. And then right now, they're not necessarily thinking about it, but you'll want to get down on the inside if you're going to have to do a green flag pit stop. And so now in these first few laps, that's really kind of what you're going to look at here, is who's going to be making those moves on the back of the pack to build a run either on the outside or to keep it together for the inside.
I mean, that's a great point. Right now, we're lap 4 of 90. We have a stage caution for sure coming up at lap 25. V-Strivers, there's no need to push the issue right away. We even saw halfway through the race last night, around lap 40 of a 75-lap race, the entire field went single file. And so we saw even one of those drivers drop to the inside there. I believe that was Gabriel Ellison that dropped below the double yellow line. He'll find his way back in line towards the rear of the field. But these drivers are just kind of going for some comfort. Now, we did have a little bit of a mix-up here. Some drivers have lost some contact with the front pack. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to get lined up again. Adam Pettit kind of holding the charge. Adam Pettit, one of the namesakes here in SRN, who kind of started things off, was back before SRN became SRN back in the Mid-South Madness days. He makes the return to Speed Racing Network competition, up in the 20th position, up 4 from where he started, but now has the task of closing the gap between his group and the lead pack, and looks like they have successfully done that. We have a little bit of 3-wide action in the middle of the field, as that appears to be the 51 of Seth Reed On the outside, it's the 54 of Drew Ballesteros, who jumps up in front of Seth Reed. And in between, Adrian Schumacher and Ballesteros being aggressive. Drops from the outside to the inside, went up through the middle, and is trying to make spots up early.
54 making some very exciting moves. Where there is a bit of incentive to get to the front right now, you do get a point for leading a lap, and you also do get, I forget how many, but you get quite a few points for winning the stage. And so there is a little bit of an incentive that if you're near the front to at least lead one lap. But more, it looks like the inside line was breaking down because what I think some of those drivers are doing near the back, with so many laps to go, the big priority for some of these guys is to just avoid wrecks at any cost. And what you'll see is they'll float to the back of the pack and stay together in at least a 4 to 5 car bunch. That way they don't completely fall off from the pack, but they're not as vulnerable to getting into those accidents that could happen when you see what just happened there with the 3 wide racing up front.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure if that's what Gabriel's doing, but I think he might have just been trying to fall back to meet up with teammates.
Yeah, that was something we noticed a lot last night, where drivers early in the race, they didn't link up with teammates. Their friends were where they found them. But interesting enough, you would think the opposite, but drivers towards the end of the race, they ended up linking up. I saw Tank get together. Jonathan Byer Racing got together. Many teams, they linked up towards the end of the race when it was a fuel mileage race last night. They linked up, they saved some fuel, and they were there at the end. But right now, it looks like just Tyler Justice and Dustin Montgomery, the 2 leaders of the first of the outside and the inside lane, and Christian Swenson has lost some momentum on that outside, as there's only 3 cars really linked up on that high side. Max Service still glued to the rear end of the 10 machine, but some help is coming. As you see, that's the 18 of James Harris, who wants a piece of the action, and the inside prevails as the outside still tries to reform up.
51 is Seth Reed. He was the winner from last year's series, and you see him making some pretty aggressive moves early on.
And Seth Reed making the switch. He switched from, I believe it was JW Racing that he was running with last season, and now he finds himself as a tank racing driver in the number 51 machine here in the Z Grills Xfinity Series, linking up with the likes of Max Service, Seth Berger, and Adrian Schumacher. That group missing Vincent Cortez this evening. We're on board a little bit there with the 51 of Seth Reed, and you kind of see, while yes, the inside lane is providing stability, these Xfinity Series cars are anything but stable at 190 miles an hour. The swerving is is prevalent throughout the entire length of that snaking inside lane. These cars, they respond very poorly to, I would say, dirty air.
Absolutely. It is. I feel like in general you can escape more big wrecks maybe on the inside, but it definitely feels like you can give more room to the cars in the other lane when you're on the outside. You can kind of run a little bit higher up the wall, kind of like where 54 is at, and it's less likely that the inside will swerve into you. But on the inside, you're hugging that yellow line the best you can. There's not much ability to give room.
Take a look at the track map. Everyone pretty much in the lead pack except one, Jackson Wade. I think they just started from the pit lane in an attempt to avoid any early action, but Jackson Wade could be in some trouble here if anyone else goes a lap down. Now, he does have the benefit of having the stage caution at lap 25, but right now Jackson Wade all on his lonesome, about half a lap down.
We ran mostly green on Tuesday night. I think it was really the lap traffic is where you have your first test in these races early on. Once you start coming up on lap traffic, and at Daytona there isn't much room to give someone the inside or the outside, and so it's very easy to cause someone to lift, and then at that point you can give a lot of incentive to people in the back to not lift and try to take it 3 wide or 4 wide to make a move. And so that's when really you'll start to see some exciting moves happening is when lap traffic comes up.
Absolutely. So it'll be intriguing to see how quickly the field catches Jackson Wade, who's already 30 seconds back. He is on pace to be lapped before the end of the stage. And at that, you asked earlier about how many points does the stage winner get. That is 10 points to the stage winner and 1 playoff point if that is what we're doing here. I don't believe playoff points are going to be factored in, but if they are, it'll be 1 playoff point. And we saw there, the inside lane started to surge a lot there off of turn 2, but what happens on that outside lane, and why a lot of people like it, is that outside lane has, well, it's the same amount of banking across the corner. They just have more of the hill to kind of get them a head start down the straightaway. The straightaway is essentially extended if you're on that higher lane. You carry more speed, there's less scrubbing of the tires on the outside lane, ideally. While they are traveling a longer distance, there's less friction upon those tires. As you are on the inside, you're just trying to keep it down on that, hugging that double yellow line. The outside has a little bit more freedom. They carry a little bit more speed, and in a way, the outside could be a little more fun, but who was up for having fun on lap 13 when it's a 90-lap race at Daytona?
It looks like Phase 2 Chassis Works is probably a team having the most fun right now. Dustin Montgomery, Tyler Justice, Christian Swinson, all at the front on that top row.
Good observation there. Yeah, great teamwork there at the front of the field. They are missing Sean Powell, who's deep in the field this evening. And I believe they also have the 8 machine of Burkhart. He's in the middle of the pack, but I'm sure as long as they make it to lap 90, they are A-okay with where they're at running right now. I see Seth Reed. He's kind of debating, and he does. He jumps up to the high side, leaving teammate Seth Berger in interest in trying to catch up with teammate Max Service on the high side. And I wonder if Berger, Service, and Seth Reed, if they're trying something, if they're trying to get linked up here on that high side. Now 3 wide as they wore their way down the back straightaway to 54. Drew Ballesteros being pushed by Seth Reed into 51. The ante has been upped. The 18 there, if James Harris wants to figure out where he wants to go. Max deciding he wants to be on the middle or the high side. He follows teammate Seth Reed. And now there's the decision there for the 18 of James Harris. And all of a sudden, 3 wide, the action's picked up. Some of these drivers are backing off. Some of these drivers want to go. Car in the wall to 54 to 51, catches the wall as well. Looks like everybody stays straight. Looks like a lot of damage to the front end and the rear end of the 51 machine. I wonder how badly that will affect the performance of the 51. In the pack, he should be fine, but it's about staying in that draft. If he were to ever lose the draft, that is going to be huge.
Yeah, more than anything, if you're trying to get up front to lead a lap, if that's the goal early on, he just created a lot more work for himself.
Absolutely. It'll be very hard to get, I guess, anyone to want to push you if it's not a teammate when you have that kind of damage, because all of a sudden your car just becomes a straight up parachute. It's hard to justify anybody wanting to push that. And you see even Max Service, who is his teammate, he jumped up to the high side and has now left teammate Seth Reed by the wayside down at the back of that inside lane here at the first 6-7 rows of this pack. Adam Pettit, Danny Dow down on the inside. They're quietly making their way forward. They're 4th and 5th on that inside lane. And Adrian Schumacher.
Lap 25 is the first stage break, right?
I would imagine so, because our stages are 25% of the total race distance, then rounded up to the nearest 5. 22 and a half rounded up, it's 25. And oh, forced underneath the double yellow line is the 49. And now Drew Ballesteros trying to force his way through the middle. Very aggressive move this early. Everybody remerges, no problem. The 18 of James Harris jumps up high. And we'll find a way back in line. Up front, it has been a unseparatable trio of Phase 2 chassis works. Christian Swenson, Dustin Montgomery, and Tyler Justice. And they now approach the lapped traffic there of Jackson Wade, staying to the high side. It'll be the field working by. Slower traffic for the first time today. Fairly calm, fairly clean.
The strength of field of this lobby was around 3,500, and we have some racers as high as 6,000, which I'm only around 1,500, which is about average for all of iRacing. And so even 3,500, those people are around top 10% of all of iRacing, and the people that are up 6,000 above, they're the top 1% of the people on this service. And so it's real exciting watching them race, because it's very rare to watch a super speedway race on iRacing where they can go through wide like that and not have any contact.
Yeah, I mean, myself, just to get to 3K, I mean, it's truly a mountain to climb. Just to sit there at 3K, it took a lot of work, and it gets harder as you get into those higher splits, those higher I-rated lobbies, because the drivers not only when you get higher, do drivers care more about their I rating. The number means a little bit more for them to keep, but it also is just a raised skill level that you have to be up to the challenge. Now, of course, Daytona, it's anyone's game. I know all those high I ratings they're leading right now. We have a 7K and a 6K out in front of the field, but I mean, and even the what do we have? We have a 2K here. I think that's the lowest we got in the field. I mean, they have a chance to win just because Daytona is just that track. It is a great equalizer. It provides that kind of opportunity, but it'll be quite the spectacle over the course of the season to see how these I ratings mix. I also do know a lot of drivers have kind of given up on officials, or they don't race officials as much anymore. I knew Adrian Schumacher. I mean, he's been a great driver for some time, and now he's raced officials more recently. But I mean, he flew his way up to nearly 3K I rating just because all he did was league races, and he raised his skill into league races and didn't really run officials. And I mean, he'd come in as a 1,700 I rated driver, and he'd race just as well as a 3Ks.
Yeah, and league racing and official racing is quite different in that in the official series, people are worried about losing their I rating. And the big thing there is, especially if you're a higher I rating, if you have a 6,000 I rating, you're still going to be put in lobbies that are 3,500 strength of field. And so if you wreck out, you're going to lose a ton of I rating. And so it makes you drive with the, even though those guys are still really aggressive and can get up to the front, you race a little bit more conservatively compared to when you're racing in a league. It's kind of like real life, where if you race too aggressive, you can create enemies. Everyone you're racing against will be back next week, but it's not the same kind of. If you make one mistake, it'll hurt your I rating, and you're afraid to ever put it on the line in the same way. I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but I feel like in league racing, you can afford to put it a little bit more on the line.
Absolutely. Just taking a look at it, Jonathan Bayer Racing, they're back here. They have decided that they are not going to partake in this stage finish. They are now 4 seconds off the pace. But with a lap and a half to go in the stage, I would imagine so anyway. I'm going to call it as lap 25. The completion of 25 is the stage. The intensity is ramping up a little bit. Waiting for that third line to pop out, but these drivers double wide still. But more drivers have jumped up to that high side. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, but that 10 points, you can get the top 10 get stage points. So as long as you cross that line inside that top 10 and, you know, coupled with some dual points from last week, I mean, you could be sitting pretty before you even get to the checkered flag tonight in terms of point standings. Now the white flag, everyone kind of bunched up. Nobody really making any daring moves for some stage points. Looks like Swenson bobbling a little bit there behind the 6 car, and it's between Montgomery and Justice as they round turn 4. We'll see here if we get the yellow, if this is the race for the stage. Anybody jumping out of line, everyone kind of nosed up, drivers look high, and there's the yellow. That was the stage caution. Who did I give it to?
Looks like Tyler Justice.
See in the sim, Tyler Justice then. Going 10 stage points to his name. And that will conclude the first stage of racing action. These drivers will now pace around to the safety vehicle. Jackson Wade will be the one driver, 1 lap down, and he will receive the free pass. First free pass of the Zeke Grills Xfinity Series this evening. Oh, we have a moment. Let's see if we can go in and grab a word of our stage winner, driver of the number 6, Tyler Justice. And Tyler, congratulations there on coming across the line at the end of lap 25. You and the team worked very well in terms of holding on to track position early here. What's the teamwork been like, and how do you plan on attacking the rest of the race, man?
Yeah, it's been good. Glad to pull it out there. We're just trying to manage the lanes there, hoping nobody gets antsy, try to take us 3 wide. There was a couple of guys who tried to get up through there, but luckily we were able to hold on for that. And yeah, it's been going good so far. We're probably going to pit here and then come back down and take another splash and go to the back of the pack and just ride around for a little bit here now that the stage is over. So it's been good so far. Just got to miss whatever carnage is coming our way and see if we can be there at the end.
Absolutely. Now, I know it's been you 3 up there. What's the plan? Or do y'all plan on linking up with Powell and Burkhart to try to make this a 5-man? Because it looks like y'all are really strong as 3, but I'm sure if you can get shrink by numbers, that'll be much more preferred.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to try to link up here. Like I said, we're going to go to the back here and just kind of ride around for a little bit and see what happens. That way we can kind of get a feel for it coming to the end here, and then just go from there and see when we want to make a run back up to the front.
All right, man. Well, congratulations on the stage victory tonight. Best luck to you. We'll let you find your pit sign and all that jazz. Hopefully we'll talk to you a little later.
Sir. Appreciate it.
That was driver of the number 6, Tyler Justice. He'll find his way down the pit lane. And we get to watch a race off pit lane. Looks like a car missing their box there. The 36 of Gabriel Ellison. Looks like Seth Berger, the driver, to come off the pit lane first with service.
In these yellow flag moments, there's a lot of opportunity. It's the main opportunity to touch base with your teammates. And so there's a lot of communication going on. Unlike in real life when you're kind of limited to your spotter and your crew chief, you know, most of these guys are in their own Discord channel and are all communicating, talking about their plans, their some of these guys don't believe in changing their tires on super speedways. They think it's a myth that tire wear exists on super speedways. Some people will, take all four, and so there's that sort of debate going on in the chats right now. And it's just like real life; it can be real easy to make a silly mistake of overshooting your pit stop and, making those little mistakes on pit road as all that kind of communication is going on.
Absolutely, and I will say, being that this series is a custom fixed setup series where the setup is not the iRacing default setup, it's a custom setup given from a setup group and then applied to these races as fixed setups. Typically, custom setups at plate tracks do typically bring tire wear with them, and so plate racing is not made any easy with these setups, trying to extract the most out of these cars, trying to maximize the performance at the expense of some tire wear. And so Gabriel Ellison, who missed his pit box, he comes down to pit lane. And a few more, we have Jonathan Cofield, Jesse Nikula, David Robertson, Logan Truitt, Jonathan Byer, Seth Reed, Nathan Della Rosa, Bobby Anderson, Dawson Montgomery, Tyler Justice, Blake Hensley, and more come down to pit lane for a quick splash and go. We're going to grab a quick word with our partners at Butt Kicker, and we'll be right back before the restart. Don't go anywhere. Welcome, race fans, back to virtual Daytona International Speedway. The field now in the hands of Seth Berger. He has James Harris alongside Danny Dow, John Holliday, Adrian Schumacher. The top five, the field doubled up for the most part, but many of those drivers who came in on the 1 to green, they will all be single file towards the back of the field. And what will happen now is the iRacing.com safety vehicle will find its safety in the pit lane. Now putting the control in the hands of the 77 machine.
So you can see that long line of cars on the inside. As soon as they pass the start finish, they're going to be trying to run up onto the outside to pick up some positions. At the same time, as we heard in the interviews, some drivers are going to fall back and they're trying to avoid the front entirely just to avoid accidents and just tuck in together in the back with 4 or 5 cars. You can see it happening there. Looks like the outside has picked up at least 2 cars from that backpack. As a few are going under the double yellow. I'm guessing that's to drop back to meet up with teammates.
So yeah, we had a couple cars drop there down on the inside of the track to drop towards the rear of the field. Now, we did see some drivers lose the draft early on in that first stage. And now it'll be more of a challenge here because you don't know. There is no guaranteed yellow now. We only had the 1 yellow last night in the Glitch Truck Series. It was for incident, but it became the stage caution. And it was only a 2 truck incident. Other than that, it was a clean and green race. Now another car will fall down off the racing surface, the 84 car of Jesse Nikula. And now Adrian Schumacher. He scored as 17, but is the number 0. That's what he was registered as. And the sim maybe just having a field day trying to figure out where number 0 is in his scoring. But it's right there coming off of turn 4, trying to take the race lead.
A lot of new folks at the front. As we heard in the interview in between stages, people got their stage points and are comfortable dropping back to the pack. Now we have pretty much a whole new group of 10 drivers up at the front. All of them are going to try to angle their way to at least get one lap up front. And then, like you're saying, there's no more stage breaks for the rest. So, as much as it's nice to be in the back, if you can be at the very front, you also feel pretty safe being able to avoid wrecks.
And now, Tank Racing teammates Adrian Schumacher, Seth Berger, they are the ones taking control of the two lines here at the front of the field. Seth Reed and his wounded number 51 machine drafting up to max service. All of Tank that showed up today is within the top 9. Danny Dow, he's been having a quiet day. He's been on the inside towards the front most of the night. And you mentioned new players to the mix, of course. Tank making more of a appearance here. James Harris making more of a statement. John Holiday, Scott Kalal. Jackson Wade was the one driver who went a lap down. And now, below the yellow line that's the 51 of Seth Reed. And that is not the way to take the chicane. And some misfortune there for the 51 of Seth Reed. And we'll see here just what happened to him. Grab a replay of it. It looks like caught it a little late there. See one more time, we can get a replay of it. This is going to be a little bit ways away, but really the first incident of the day, and it was Seth Reed losing the lead draft as a result of it as well. So you can grab an overhead look of what happened to the 51 machine. You see the 36 behind. That is looks like it just was off the tractor. Gabriel Ellison was the car behind, but
Curious if it's somehow a technical glitch. So he decided to just
I would
step out.
believe that'd have to be it, yeah. So Seth Reed, the lone wolf, carries on now. James Harris out in front of the field now. Schumacher drops down in front of teammate Seth Berger, and they're going to try to make something happen on the inside. But James Harris puts his trust in Drew Ballesteros to push that lane forward. 4 cars now on the outside. So this race is shaping up a little bit, actually very similar to the Truck Series race last night, where most of the field, save for 4 cars, is lined up in a single file line all the way back. Only 4 cars really want to be dueling it out right now. Everyone else is content with riding.
Yeah, by hanging that far back, not only are you able to avoid wrecks, but you're able to save fuel quite a bit as well. You can lift and just kind of rely on the big long chain of cars on the inside line to be able to use the draft to catch back up to the group. And so you can go from, instead of being flat-footed all the way around this track, to be 50, 75% on the throttle for a lot of the track. In the Truck Series, we had about 26 laps of fuel on a run. I think it's roughly the same for these cars, and so that you can very easily, add another 3 to 5 laps of fuel by being conservative on these long runs.
Absolutely, fuel can be at a premium. We saw that last night, being a 75 lap race last night and a stage caution lap 25. These drivers were extending their fuel tanks last night. And tonight, we could very well see the same thing Now, field doesn't look like to be as much of a concern, but no driver is really putting it all on the line right now. There's only 3 cars now still up there on the high side. As you kind of see the field whizzing by every one of our speed shot cameras around the circuit.
It's really incredible how good of a job iRacing has done at recreating these different camera angles for our broadcasts. It makes it really fun to watch.
Well, these camera angles, they actually come from one of the partners with Speed Racing Network. So those are not iRacing's default cameras. Those are created cameras, camera packs that Speed Racing Network has bought the right to use for these broadcasts, and they try to emulate the feel of NASCAR broadcasts. Because for what it's worth, I think iRacing could use a little work on their default camera packs. But iRacing has a very intricate system when it comes to perfecting cameras, and you could play around with that all day long. I mean, the camera tools, the list goes on and on to make some very, very clean cameras. Here on iRacing, it is very much possible. And so the creative minds, they get to work and they do it all. As Drew Ballesteros has forced his way forward, he has cleared the race lead. Scott Kalaw drops down and leaves Jackson Wade and Adam Pettit on the high side to fend for themselves. Danny Dow decides he wants a piece of the action as well. And John Holiday also on the high side, leaving, again, 3 cars up there. And Adam Pettit has forced his way to the front, getting help from Danny Dow. Adam Pettit was one of the admins of this league for a long time. He was around for quite a while. For what it's worth, Adam and I, we ran the number 57. And so it was always fun to poke fun at one another when we ran in different series, being the same number. And Adam then, he took a leave. We didn't see him for a season or 2. But it's glad to have him back. And Adam now sporting the number 49. And out in front in his return to Speed Racing Network competition. And so we still watch 3 cars trying to outduel the entire strength of the inside lane.
Yeah, the way the aerodynamics work in iRacing, even with just 3, you'd probably want at least 4 cars. But I mean, as you're seeing it with 3 cars, you're able to hang with the inside line. The problem is you'll never be able to pass. But you are able to kind of stick up front. And so if the goal is to, cross the finish line and get that 1 lap lead point, it's worth it, keeping yourself up on that outside line. It also, there's even more reason for the people back on the inside line to kind of jump up front, because you could be in 18th and go hop up to be in the, 4th row outside line.
Now, I'm not a believer that this outside lane cannot make the pass. I think this outside lane is very capable of making the pass, especially right now with the state of the inside lane. Nobody's really forcing the issue on that inside lane. If these 3 drivers up here just get linked up a little bit, I very well think that Pettit and Dow and I mean maybe even John Holiday if he's able to link up well enough, I think they can clear their way to the inside lane. I don't think they want to, or nobody's ponying up to right now. It's really hard to stay glued to these bumpers for what it's worth, and it's really easy to overheat these Xfinity cars. But if these 3 can get glued at the right time, and it's going to take timing and a little bit of communication, they can definitely pony up. And now the 32 of Scott Kalal, now he is getting to work. He is now pushing on the rear end there to 54, and now maybe it'd be a little harder. But right there, when they were just riding in line for the longest time that inside lane was, I was a firm believer that they can make that move on the outside lane, because it's all about the momentum, not necessarily the car count. Well, of course, car count is going to have a huge effect on it. There's just more energy bouncing in that outside lane between 3 cars than there is between a strung out inside lane. And the halfway point has been reached. Drew Ballesteros, of course, leading at the halfway point, and so...
Yeah, and as you can see, that 4th car in the inside line is hanging back, and so that does tend to even out the lines, like you're saying, when they get strung out.
And there we go.
Oh, wow, and then you see it, the top 2. But they're now, they just left their 3rd comrade out to dry, but that's a timely overtake with the lap traffic coming up on the outside lane.
Yep, forced John Holiday into a decision there, and for what it's worth, I don't think they were necessarily... Oh, they are all in one channel, so they did kind of just leave John Holiday out to dry, but I'm sure he'll find a way in line. He is now the lone car on the outside lane. You can take a look for wider shots.
There's a few cars spread out on that outside line. If 1 or 2 cars from the inside line decided to come up, they could all make a push to the front.
Yeah, a couple cars now. Schumacher has jumped out of line of his Tank Racing teammates. I think they tried to catch Seth Reed, but as a result, they lost Adrian Schumacher. But right now, this is a great opportunity. If you haven't linked up with your teammates yet, you can find them. They can find you a place in line. They can lift off. They can get you in line, or you can both jump out of line and drop to the back together. There is plenty of opportunity to link up here. And you see the likes of Kalal, James Harris, and Ballesteros, Jackson Wade. They're all lined up from Phoenix Virtual Racing. We mentioned the Tank Racing guys. Looking at it, Gabriel Ellison, he's kind of moved up from the rest of his JBR guys in De La Rosa and Truid and company. Actually, De La Rosa's at the back of the field. The Elliott Sadler Esports guys, David Robertson, Paul Bliss, they are linked up together in line.
Did you happen to see how many laps they can go on one tank?
I would imagine it's very similar to the number in the truck series, because it does look like everyone is fanning out. We could be nearing pit stops. Everyone is jumped up to the high side. I think there's groups trying to get organized, or there's just some racing trying to go on. Nobody wants to lose the leaders. And back here, the intensity has ramped up. Is the 89. Then of Kyle Ryan, who's going to have to lead the charge. The help from James Harris to try to close that gap. And Tank Racing's making a push. They're going to push Seth Reed, the lapped car, out in front. So Seth Reed could, if they catch a yellow, Seth Reed does not have to take the lucky dog. That is That is some intriguing teamwork. But they're going to try to get Seth Reed to the front of the pack so the lapped car can lead the field. Max Service glued to the rear end of the 51. And now Kyle Ryan trying to jump up ahead of on top of Seth Berger with no help behind.
A very aggressive move.
Very aggressive. Nobody's going with. I think people understand that's a really aggressive move. With 40 laps to go, still at least one pit stop. And you see Kyle Ryan is going to pay the price. He's going to drop back with no help. He'll have to find his way back another 10 spots back before finding a place in line. He drops down to the inside. John Holiday, he surged back up. John Holiday did get the chance to lead some laps with the push from Adam Pettit and Danny Dow. All three of those independent drivers down in race chat. But it's Tank Racing that is put together a charge on the high lane. Adrian Schumacher down in the back of the pack. But now Max Service has taken the lead of this race, and they pushed Seth Reed to the front of the field, and now the lapped car is leading the pack. And now John Holiday getting very aggressive behind the rear end of the 51.
We're seeing a lot of bump drafting in the corners.
Oh, yeah. John Holiday there, he is not happy with a lapped car sitting in front of his lane. But now Tank Racing controls the front of the field. And you see, there's those guys we talked about earlier. The Phase 2 Chassis Works guys of Montgomery and Justice, they're back. And Swenson coming back. They want a piece of the action. They want to take control of this race once again. But now Max Service and Seth Berger out in front of this field, controlling the field. Both of them representing Berger Arts out of Tank Racing.
I think we're coming up on 30 laps since our last pit stop. They have to be coming close to needing to stop for fuel.
You'd be correct. Most of these drivers, they pitted on lap 28. So if they can stretch it to lap 60, they would be in the clear. But 58 would be the 30 lap length. And this may become a fuel mileage race if indeed these drivers can only make it 30 laps. And now Berger jumps back up in front. Now Berger's going to get sucker hold as Montgomery and Justice, the Phase 2 Chassis Works guys, they're here. They brought Burkhart, they bought Swenson, and they bought Sean Powell. They did get strength in numbers. 5 of them on the high side. They're all lined up. 3 of them drop down. They leave Swenson and Powell out to dry on the high side. And Powell now fast to fend for himself as there's still a Tank Racing duo in that gap. Swenson will have to fall behind maybe the 77 of Berger now.
Looks like most people are trying to get to the inside, getting ready to pit.
I would imagine so.
That was a big moment to get position. That was basically the last moment to get good position before folks started heading on to pit road.
Well, here we go. No takers yet, so we're not there yet, but we are nearing, I'd imagine so. The energy in the field does seem to be nearing pit stops. And the Liqui Moly cars, a Phase 2 Chassis Works, out in front with Montgomery and Justice, Burkhart, and Swenson. Powell down in 7th. All 5 of them in the top 7. And the 6th of Tyler Justice was riding the yellow line. The car bobbled. He holds station, but that looked to be a scary moment. We got a car around, going around in the grass. Looks like that's Kyle Ryan in the number 89 machine.
Seeing some damage on the right rear quarter panel too.
Absolutely. We're going to see if we can get a look at what happened to Kyle Ryan. We're nearing pit stop, so this will be the one view we'll take of this incident. But we saw the energy of the field shift towards pit stops, and Kyle Ryan was being very aggressive earlier. I wonder if he got caught out on his own aggression here. He tries to block Drew Ballesteros. Intriguing there. Ballesteros jumps up. The late block there from Kyle Ryan, and now off of turn 4. They get together again. It was more contact with Ballesteros. And he was able to merge back into traffic. But here we go. The field's still lined up. No pit stops yet. And now we are at that point. I think these drivers can make it on fuel on a one-stop strategy.
Just like real life, a lot of the time, the way these teams come up with their pit strategy is by working backwards. And with plate races like this, they're not necessarily just trying to get to lap 90. They're trying to be able to stay out for the green-white checkers. So we have a max of 3 green-white checkers, which it could turn into another 10 laps onto the end of this race. And so that's kind of the calculation here. So if you can make it comfortably 30 laps, you absolutely want to stay out to lap 60. But any bit that you can save fuel on this last run so you can stay out just a bit later, it makes it so that you can race a bit more aggressively, even if the green-white checkers happen at the end of the race.
A look at the field. Everybody's still in this lead pack. The only driver, of course, Kyle Ryan, we saw let aggression kind of dictate the battle there with a block on Ballesteros, and then I'm going to be honest, I couldn't tell you what the next move was out of turn 4, but they made more contact out of turn 4 after the block entering turn 3, and Kyle Ryan pays the price for now. He might be lucky enough to catch a yellow with 30 laps to go. There's still plenty of time for stuff to fall in his favor, but he is the lone wolf out there. And here comes the Phase 2 chassis works, guys, and a couple more. Phase 2 chassis works, and they bring down Adam Pettit, Danny Dow, and Doc Holliday. Adrian Schumacher also comes in out of the Tank Racing stable, and Kyle Ryan is in. Shift to the spotter camera. We'll jump up front. It's Seth Berger, Max Service out in front. They've broken away a little bit from Ballesteros and the rest. Will they pit now? The Tank Racing guys are coming in. Most of the field is coming in now. This is a big group of drivers coming down to pit lane. And they all make it clean. How about that? This group includes Service, Berger, Ballesteros, Kalal, Wade, Ellison, Harris, Bliss, Robertson, Byer, Truitt, De La Rosa, and more. And that leaves, looks like the 84 then of Jesse Nakula, Jonathan Cofield, Bobby Anderson, the last 3 drivers yet to pit. And here's the merge point that we're going to be watching here. Tank Racing, they come out off the pit lane. Looks like there's the 38 of John Holiday. He ended up speeding. Where's the merge point between Max Service and Dustin Montgomery? There's Montgomery in the center of turns 1 and 2. And there's the 81 of Max Service. This is going to be the important mark here. And Phase 2 chassis works. They're all linked up, and they're going to blow by the Tank Racing guys And they're still maybe just trying to get into fourth gear now. Schumacher is going to go past. Maybe he'll be able to latch on his Tank Racing teammates. Cofield, Nakula, and Anderson, they're on the pit lane now. And that should complete the green flag pit cycle there.
And as difficult as it is to get into pit road safely at this track, I find it a lot more difficult to blend back into a stable rhythm on the track, because now, as you're seeing, there's all these different groups of different sizes, and that's when I feel like you get the most chaos in terms of different groups coming on each other, who's lifting, who's not. And already I've seen a couple of close calls coming with these different packs trying to blend in together. And at the same time, folks are trying to go find their teammates too.
Yeah, I'd say so. With the looks of it, it looks like we have an 8-car lead pack now. It's all of Phase 2 Chassis Works and 3 of the 4 Tank Racing drivers out in front of this field. Then 9th place is, I believe that's the Elliott Sadler Esports entry of David Robertson. Paul Bliss a little bit further ways down the running order, but David Robertson has found some of the JBR stable.
David Robertson's one of, I think, 2 drivers in this league that's above 6,000 iRating, and I would say he's definitely one to watch.
3, at least 3. Yeah, we have 4 drivers above 6K.
Robertson, Justice, and do you know who the other 2 are?
Yeah, Sean Powell and Dawson Montgomery, 6,100 and 7,300 respectively.
Well, there you go. And it's no surprise all 4 of those drivers are in the top 10 right now.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point, right? Yes, this is Daytona. It's a great equalizer. But to nail down a green flag pit cycle and come out with track position, that takes experience. That takes time of doing it over and over again on the sim. All those drivers who did A opens during Daytona and Talladega week with their teammates, those are the guys that are going to come out in front right here. And I'm sure Phase 2 Chassis Works, these guys, the high I ratings, they've done it for years. They've got the experience on the sim. Tank Racing, I come out of the Tank Racing stable. I know those guys, they're always on plate race week, and they're always out there running A opens when they can't get into that pit practice. And you see it's paid off for them. They've come out with the lead pack as well. I don't know, how often these guys do pit practice, green flag pit stop practice, green pit cycle practice, but a lot of this group now, they have numbers. That's what they've got on their side. But it's a 4-second gap they have to make up. Can Robertson, with a push from Gabriel Ellison, 2 very formidable drivers, by the way. Gabriel Ellison returning to Speed Racing Network, and Ellison, a driver, he's at a 5K. I mean, he's no slouch or anything. Gabriel Ellison, a great driver. Can they pony up here? Can they make the charge to close the gap that the 8-car breakaway out in front has on the rest of the field? Out in front, Tyler Justice has taken the lead. They executed a switch out of Phase 2 Chassis Works. Burkhart and Montgomery. Montgomery went from the lead to 3rd. Powell let Montgomery in. And I have to say, that is hard to do with people behind you, right? Now, luckily, they have all 5 of them lined up. But I recall I was a part of the Tank Racing team that had the 5 drivers that did that at Daytona in the Cup Series a couple seasons ago. and we had the whole thing planned out. We did plenty of Daytona practice the week before, practicing switches when it comes to making sure nobody gets overheated and all that. That is a lot of work. It comes down to fine details, making sure the communication is on point, making sure that everyone knows what they're doing, knowing what lap, what corner of it's gonna happen. Everyone's got to be on board, and I'm sure. I mean, the communication inside that team channel that season when it was a tank, the season opener. Tank Racing led 72 of the 80 laps, and finished 1 through 5. And I had the pleasure to be a part of that group. I mean, it was a lot of hard work and communication. I can only imagine.
That's incredible.
And I'd love to hear just how the communication is with these guys right now, because I'd imagine it'd be something similar.
Where were you in the 1 through 5?
I finished 5th, but I got my share of laps led. And it was a great.
That's the anchor. Second most important.
Oh yeah. I will say it looks like the field has started to make some ground up. David Robertson with the push from Gabriel Ellison and an entire group of drivers have now lined up and are trying to make something happen. And this group goes all the way from 9th to 23rd. Now, the unfortunate thing is there, from the looks of it, I think Gabriel Ellison started to overheat, and he had to get some air to the nose of that number 36 Toyota Supra. And so once it gets hot, that's when it gets hard to continue to push and to continue to gain time. And you're going to have to rely on the people behind you to keep you in it. I believe that's a teammate in Blake Hensley they've got behind that Ellison can work with.
You also want to make sure that you're as cool as possible so that you can push for as many laps as possible at the end of this race.
Absolutely. You got to make sure the engine is cooled down. But I think first, most of these guys, their first and foremost concern is to catch that group. And they have almost broken into that 1 second barrier, which I think is, the typical gap you talk about at plate races. 1 second. That's about the point where you break into the draft of the cars ahead. And Robertson, he's now cut into that 1 second bracket from John Holiday up ahead. Holiday a lap down. Part of the issue is going to be keeping these guys linked up as the leaders get draft. I think Ellison's doing a great job of it. Now, right here's the hard part. Trying to stay linked up. And they do, as Tank Racing's making a charge. Adrian Schumacher leading Max Service, Seth Berger, as they try to make a run to the front around Phase 2 chassis works. They caught him lacking a little bit. They weren't all linked up. Now they're 3 wide with two of the Phase 2 chassis work drivers side by side with one another. And now, where does Robertson and Ellison go? All of a sudden, Adam, this field is packed up again. Berger drops down. He gets Service and Schumacher to do the same. They leave that high side now open for Robertson and Ellison. Three wide there in the heart of the lead pack. Adrian Schumacher leads. Service drops down to try to cover off the inside lane. But the outside, now with Robertson and Ellison, can they get together? We got a car in the wall. That's the red car there. That's the 84, I believe, of Nikula. And he is dropping down for running order. Back up front, it's still 3 wide. Sideways is, I believe that's the 6 machine. No, that's not the 6. I believe that's the 8 machine then of Burkhart. And that was And when you're in a position like this, I don't know how often you've had to be pushing and slam drafting the car in front of you, Adam, in the middle of a 3 wide scenario. But all 3 lanes, you are white knuckle holding that wheel, praying that you don't cause the big one, all while trying to work for your own benefit of pushing the car ahead of you, also while trying not to overheat. And if you overheat, well, you're boxed in. Where are you gonna go?
Yeah, and so much is about not losing that track position to be near your teammates. You can see that main group with they all have the same logo on their hood of the chassis racing team. More than anything, you don't want to give up your spot because it's going to be hard in 15 laps to get all linked back up with your teammates.
Absolutely. Right now, Phase 2 chassis works, Tank Racing, they're the ones doing battle. And we got a little bit of a checkup here, and we got cars in the wall. Jackson Wade, Kyle Ryan, James Harris is going around, and the caution's gonna come out. The 35 involved as well. Logan Truitt, Adam Pettit involved. Many cars that were having great days. All of a sudden, days slashed from incident here in the late running at Daytona. Unfortunate for it to happen so late while we were having a great race. We are going to get a look at what happened. It started, I think some drivers started to have a little bit of a checkup up front. The 8 and the 12, and they were kind of running up on one another. The 10 just drives up in front of the 69 at Jackson Wade, and many cars involved. And it looks like maybe 4 or 5 involved. This wreck could have been bigger, but still, unfortunate timing for those drivers involved in this one.
Absolutely. And what's so frustrating is it looked like it took out a lot of the people at the back of the pack. And for most of those drivers, their strategy was likely to take it easy, avoid wrecks, be there at the end. And then to get caught up in a wreck like that with 15 laps to go is just incredibly frustrating.
So I want to see what happened. All these drivers, they were struggling. And then the 10 of Swenson, he just wanted to follow his teammate. And with that, he just kind of bodied the car to his outside as well. And took out 4, 5 cars for good measure. And I know it's a lot to process, right? The pack was 3 wide ahead, but I mean,
yeah, there were about 15 cars in the first 5 rows. And
yeah.
With netcode on Tuesday night, I got so on the duel, I was lucky to win the second duel for the truck series by going 3 wide in the last lap and had a really exciting finish. At the same time, on Tuesday night in the actual race, I got into a netcode accident where there was about 4 feet of space on the replay screen between me and the other trucks, but a little bit of netcode, which is when, where on your screen, where the car looks like it actually is, according to the game server, it's at a different spot. And it has to do with, all of these cars, it's a live simulation, and there's a predictive code to be predicting in the time between your game client and the server communicating. There's a slight gap in where people are, changing positions or braking or speeding up. And so it's really easy, when you have that many cars packed together, one glitch, not even a mistake, one glitch can cause a big pileup. It was impressive they lasted that long.
I totally agree with that. I just don't see a glitch in this incident.
No, I think that's normal racing where you just, one person checks up in another and it accordions into a wreck that leads to one person getting turned. And that was what was, I think, really frustrating, is that it was kind of a really slow, drawn out wreck. And it wasn't until someone got turned near the middle or the back of the middle, and then that person getting turned caused a whole bunch of people to wreck in the back.
And now I'm trying to figure out why V8 there on the left side of your screen was checking up. I don't know if he blew up or he was about to overheat and he checked up out of panic, or they were about
He
to
could be
wreck and
checking up to let his teammate in.
I guess, but I mean, he checked up
I don't know what he's doing.
massively,
Oh yeah.
and the 12 had nowhere to go. He was trying to get to the outside. I think something happened because the 12 and the 10 they were leaving him, and the 10 maybe trying to avoid the 8 was also trying to follow suit, but there was 2 cars to the outside, and you see there Wade and Kyle Ryan Verde, and there's James Harris and Danny Dow and John Holiday, all 5 of those guys, and who else got collected and come back up the field. There's Adam Pettit involved. There's another one. That's the 35 of Truett. This is a 7-8 car incident here in the late running of Daytona. But all in all, it's plate racing, and it happens. It's just the nature of the beast. What happens now, though, Adam? We re-rack them, restack them, and we'll try it again. So working our second caution period of the day. It's Tank Racing out in front now. Max Service, Adrian Schumacher, and Seth Berger, the top 3. Then a couple JBR guys and Gabriel Ellison and Nathan De La Rosa. Drew Ballesteros then follows suit there with the 54 machine out of Phoenix Virtual Racing. Tyler Justice out of Phase 2. David Robertson out of Elliott Sadler Esports. Sean Powell out of Phase 2, Jonathan Cofield in the 58 machine. Out of Bandits Motorsports. That is your top 10. And Adam, with 11 laps to go, this is going to be something. I think everyone has saved the fuel now. Fuel is no longer concerned for anyone unless overtime occurs. And the iRacing.com safety vehicle finds its safety in the pit lane. The field in the hands of Max Service, and racing commences once again from Daytona. The field once again 3 wide, and here comes Robertson. Now a push on the outside there, trying to make something happen. I believe he's bringing on, that's the 58 at Cofield, trying to make something happen on the high side, and they're going to the front. They rocket forward.
That was my sleeper pick from earlier in the night. There's a lot of talent on that Elliott Sadler racing team. And let's see if they can stick up at the front with these last few laps to go.
There you go. Max Service closes the gap now. He's going to push the 46 machine, trying to bring Seth Berger along for the ride. Schumacher holds station in the middle lane, and it's Cofield up high, leading the 2 lanes to the outside. Ellison pushing Schumacher, and the 85 then Paul Bliss out of the Elliott Sadler Esports camp as well. That's kind of the whole top 10 as they run Phase 2 Motorsports there in the middle of the field, middle lane, trying to make their way forward. Scott Kalaw down on the inside. He starts to get phased out a little bit as the 66 of Nathan De La Rosa has found his way to the back bumper to 77. Max Service jumps up high. Now Seth Berger, they get linked up with Adrian Schumacher. They leave Robertson out to dry down on the inside. And now Robertson in the hands of Nathan De La Rosa. And here comes Phase 2. Chassis works again. 4 of them lined up behind the Tank Racing trio up front. Robertson surges up the inside. A great push from De La Rosa. Cofield left out to dry on the high side. Nowhere to find a line. No home in sight for that 58 machine. Eight laps to go. So blink there for the 0-0. And a little bit of a reaction there from the 6 machine. Puts Cofield in the wall. Scott Kalal drops down out of the pack. And he says he wants to try to live to lap 90. He doesn't think these guys will.
You can see now that phase 2 Chassis Works team all lining up on that top row, 4 cars in a row.
Yeah, they made a little bit of space for themselves. Now Tyler Justice leads that quad group up the field, and now Seth Reed is up there in the mix, trying to push the rest of the Tank Racing trio. Now 4 of them lined up. Chassis Works has 4, Tank Racing has 4, and there's a couple of JBR cars trying to push an Elliott Sadler Esports machine down on the inside. A lot of work being done by that one machine of Sean Powell. 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 for the top 12. Beautiful racing from all of these drivers in the Z Grills Xfinity Series. A lot of bobbling, a lot of swaying from the high side. Sean Powell driving his heart off to try to get that 6 clear, but Service and Berger, they clear down to the bottom. They leave Schumacher and Seth Reed out to dry in the middle. And now Service with the inside lane lead. Tyler Justice trying to power up the middle lane. Schumacher jumps up in front of the other 2 phase 2 Chassis Works cars. And now Tank and in phase 2, they have split each other up. Now both teams are working against one another.
Yeah, and with 5 laps to go, that's still a lot of time left in this race. As you're seeing, they were kind of all lined up perfectly for that final push. It was just 6 laps too early. And so now there's still so much time. This is the final push.
It's still happening. You could carry on with that thought if you had, Adam.
Oh no, I'm also keeping an eye on 54. Drew Ballesteros has been a little firecracker this race, and I'm waiting to see him make a move. He's been floating around there on the back.
Absolutely. Here's the thing now. Who can make the oil temps last? 4 laps to go, 10 miles to settle it. Next time by will be 3 laps. And around goes the one contact from the 46, Sean Powell, and the 46 of Robertson goes around. Nathan De La Rosa, heavy damage. John Holiday, a car hard into the inside wall. I think that was Hensley. He actually avoids damage. But big time damage for Nathan De La Rosa. And Adam, we now have a green, white, checkered.
We have the first green, white checkered. I don't know if you're optimistic. But what a tough day for Jonathan Byer Racing. Nathan De La Rosa was able to stick around to be there up at the front, but I think Jonathan is floating around, but almost everyone's taking damage at this point.
And so we're gonna slow it down here. We saw it live for the most part, but you're watching the 46 car. Is that 3rd blue car on the inside lane, and the 1 car, the 2nd blue car in the middle lane. The 46 just misses the entry of the corner. Almost puts himself almost in the lap at a 51. Collects the 1 of Sean Powell, and they both go careening to the yellow line. But what that yellow line does is it rejects cars at that banking angle of 31 degrees to flat. They collect the 66 then of Nathan De La Rosa, and it's a mini track blockage there between the 46 and the 66. Gabriel Ellison in the 36 makes contact with the 46, and Robertson and Ellison are able to keep going, but then it's Nathan De La Rosa spinning in front of the field, and yeah, for good measure, we'll tag teammate Blake Hensley and John Holiday and just nowhere to go. Looks like a 5-car incident here. And you're right, that's a lot of JBR getting damaged now, these 2 accidents.
Yeah, Gabriel Ellison also, I didn't realize he got caught up in that. That's basically everyone from JBR in an accident today. It's a heartbreaker.
Well, see,
it looks like most of phase 2 in
Lightspeed.
tank racing. What's that? Sorry.
No, you're good.
Robertson almost gets the double kill as he floats up. He gets the back bumper of the front car. He almost gets, I think it's 51's Seth Reed's front bumper. Not sure how Seth Reed hung on there. I think he mostly escaped without damage. Or at least any more. His back bumper has looked a little rough for most of this race.
Let's see Blake Hensley's point of view of this incident on board with the 31. Oh, and he gets his teammate for good measure, Jonathan Byer. I mean, that's the whole team right there. Unbelievable. From the highs of last night for Jonathan Byer Racing with the 1 through 3 and Justin Michael having a great race as well. He didn't finish in the 1 through 3, but he had a great showing, to almost all of them getting involved in incident tonight. Or I guess at that point it is all of them got involved in incident tonight. Truitt and Kyle Ryan in the last incident, and you have there Hensley, Byer, De La Rosa, and Ellison. I mean, that's a lot of Jonathan Byer Racing in trouble tonight.
It looks like we're mostly going to have a showdown between Phase 2 and Tank Racing. Looking at that top 10, we do have Drew Ballesteros from Phoenix Virtual Racing. Trying to see if he has a teammate close that he could link up with.
I think we're at the point now, though, that teammates don't really matter. Your friends are where you find them. You make your line go to better benefit you, no matter who it is in front of you. And that's the thing.
Yeah, I remember hearing racing,
2 tank racing cars have 2 phase 2 cars behind them.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure there at that restart. I remember in an interview, Tony Stewart talked about how him and Dale Jr. would always end up linking up on plate tracks, and it was not ever any coordination on their part. It was just that they had a very similar philosophy on what to do when, and they would always end up finding themselves together at the end of those races.
That is something else. You picking up on what I'm seeing here as the 66 of Nathan De La Rosa. And that thing is not traveling in a straight line. Oh my goodness. He looks like he's in a 4-wheel slide all the way around. I think he got EOL'd, or he asked for an EOL there, but that was very intriguing, and that could have been very interesting on how it would have affected this overtime restart. The iRacing.com safety vehicle finds its safety in the pit lane. It's overtime in the Z Grills Xfinity Series, and racing once again from Daytona. Max Service leads the field to the green. Tank Racing Phase 2, or will it be somebody else further on back? Schumacher in the outside lane. They don't get that great of a restart. But the 6, Tyler Justice, he jumps up in front of Schumacher. And now it's an attempt to get Service and Berger linked up, while Justice tries to get the 12 of Montgomery to his back bumper. 3 wide again as Schumacher jumps up high. He's got Seth Reed, but they got 3 of the Phase 2 Chassis Works cars there in the middle. Berger sideways on the inside lane. 3x3 as they come off of turn 4. 1 lap to go this time by. The battle lap as Tyler Justice clears out in front. Schumacher trying to make something happen on the high side. Justice leaves the 12 car. Now comes back up. Where do you block if you're in that middle lane? Service with a great run on the inside. Berger's gonna get turned. Seth Reed's gonna go around, and it's just a 12. Now pushing the 6 up front. A big wreck behind. Phase 2 Chassis Works. They're trying to get clear of the others. The 54 Ballesteros, he jumps down to try to push the 81. It's going to be a battle here to the finish. Side by side to the line. Who's going to get here first? Tyler Justice, Max Service, Drew Ballesteros, 3 wide. Tyler Justice wins at Daytona.
Gotta love that the officials let him race back to the line, even though there's that accident on the back stretch. But what a run. Tyler Justice in the 6. Drew Ballesteros, though, running all the way to get up to 3rd at the end. That's pretty impressive.
A great finish there. As Tyler
As all the
Justice-
teams battle it out, it's one of each from Phase 2, Tank Racing, and Phoenix Virtual Racing. No team dominated that finish as it kind of shuffled as they came to the line.
Well, what happened there was just 2 cars left out of Phase 2 Chassis Works. Well, and there was 2 Tank Racing cars, but they were on either lane. And so the Phase 2 Chassis Works cars, which were linked up in the middle lane, they were able to prevail, and Tyler Justice will celebrate here on the front straightaway in the Liqui Moly number 6 Chevrolet Camaro out of Phase 2 Chassis Works. In a well-deserved celebration for the 6 of Tyler Justice.
The crowd at Virtual Daytona always loves to see a driver burn it down after a race. Looks like he's going for some donuts in the infield as well.
I mean, a phenomenal run all around for the 6th car of Tyler Justice. And he'll bring it to a halt here on the front straightaway grass, and we'll have the opportunity to hear from the race winner of the season opener here of the Z-Grills Xfinity Series, Tyler Justice of the number 6 machine out of Phase 2 Chassis Works. Tyler, what a great race. I mean, executed perfectly on all parts. We were able to hear from y'all at the stage break, and we hear from you again here at the end. Executed to perfection with... It starts all the way back in the duels, I'd imagine. Getting the getting the race perfectly there.
Yeah, we were lucky to get that duel win. We got caught up in a wreck in the duel and still was able to have minimal damage and was able to secure that one and executed a good race tonight. I just got to thank my teammates and thank Dustin for pushing me there at the end. We went out, got the stage win, dropped to the back, just kind of rode around for a little bit until the pit stop, and then charged back up through there, was able to get good track position before the pit stop, and kind of he got a little dicey there at the end with the 3 wide and all that, and it was pretty crazy. And I don't want to apologize. I don't know who it was, but I got somebody up in the wall in turn 1. I don't know what happened. Just got a little tight there or something. We got hooked together and it put that guy up in the wall. So I want to apologize to him. But yeah, nonetheless, it was a good race, executed pretty well. All of our teammates did a great job tonight, and just got to thank them.
I mean, absolutely. It seemed like a phenomenal race from y'all tonight on all parts. I did ask you at the stage break, what was the plan to get everyone kind of lined up, and y'all were able to get everyone lined up there at the back. It took y'all a few laps, but then y'all made your charge up to the front. Uh, Pit strategy, it seemed like fuel was a little bit of an issue, but it seemed to work out all in y'all's favor. So, what were the main concerns once y'all got lined up then for the rest of the race?
Yeah, we were trying to get back there, get everyone lined up so we can make a charge to the front, and luckily we were able to do that. And then once we came down pit road, we had to pit a couple laps sooner than we wanted to because one of our guys was a little shorter on fuel, so we had to come in a little early. And then we had Dustin; he had a little mishap on his fuel, and he was a little short, but he was back there saving a little bit, but. Inevitably, the caution ended up coming out, so it really didn't matter too much. But there was a little bit of a fuel concern there, but luckily it all worked out, and we had a good showing here.
What did you guys' communication look like in those last 10 laps? You guys had pretty much all of your team up at the front, but they were getting split up between the three rows. What was the communication like going on as you're trying to line up for the last 5 to 10 laps?
It was definitely chaotic. If anyone was sitting in there listening to us, it was pretty chaotic. Everybody was trying to call out where different runs were coming from, and what lane we should move into to block what run, and what line was moving the best to try to get up there. And inevitably you're just trying to get up there and get at least one of our cars in the lead clear to the front. That way we can kind of control one lane, and that can kind of hold that lane back, and then let the other guys kind of work up into that second and third groove. But luckily we were able to do it. It was super chaotic, and I'm not going to say it went perfect the way we thought it would, but we got her done.
All right, that is race winner Tyler Justice of the number 6 machine out of Phase 2 Chassis Works. Tyler, congratulations on the dominant race today from you and the team, because I think tonight was all about team effort for sure. Congratulations to y'all. Best luck to y'all next week at Las Vegas.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for broadcasting, and I want to give a shout out to Liquid Molly, all my teammates, and thank you guys.
Well, there it is. Driver of the number 6, Tyler Justice, your race winner tonight here at Daytona. Want to go ahead and bring up second place finisher, driver of the number 81, Max Service. He's headed your way, Adam.
Hey, Max, thanks for joining us. How was it going for Tank Racing those last 5 laps? Most of you guys were up near the front, and there was some beating and banging in those last 5 laps. What was that like for your team?
It was a lot of fun up there. We were all having a blast until a lot of us got taken out at the end of it. But honestly, we were just kind of enjoying the race, having a ton of fun. Being able to run 3 wide like that, you don't get it very often here on iRacing. So when you can, it's much appreciated, especially when it's decently clean as we could be. As much as these cars sway around in a straight line, we were doing pretty good.
Absolutely. What was your team's pit strategy as you guys were trying to figure out how you could get together at the end of the run?
We had a number that we came on. We were going to come on 61 regardless, just kind of to keep everybody together with how fuel was working out before that. Obviously, Seth Reed was a lap down, still came with us. And then came off pit road, and the goal from there was go and lead every lap from here. And we did a decent amount of leading, just didn't lead the right lap.
Well, at a track like Daytona, top 3 is, nothing to turn your nose up at. As you're looking out to the rest of the season, are there any big tracks that you think your team is going to be particularly competitive at? Is there anything in the schedule that jumps out, or what's your team looking forward to as they start the season?
I think we're a pretty strong team, so I think we're going to be pretty good anywhere. For myself, I'm just going to write myself off at all the road courses we go to. Not very good at those, but other than that, we should be all right from here.
Well, there you are, driver of the number 81, Max Service out of Tank Racing. A valiant effort there at the end. But while it was team against team, Phase 2 and Tank Racing, Phase 2 comes out on top. Tank Racing, though, not a bad showing whatsoever there.
Beautiful paint job as well. I love looking at that purple and blue paint scheme for this race.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll shout out Seth Berger for that paint scheme and Bergarts. That's all his work.
Well, there you are. Driver the number 81 Burgart's Chevrolet Camaro out of Tank Racing and Max Service with his second place finish this evening. And we'll bring up driver of the number 54 machine, finishing in the third position tonight, Mr. Drew Ballesteros. And Drew, you were the aggressor this evening, and it looks like it paid off great with a fantastic podium finish tonight. Drew, kind of walk us through your mind as you're kind of working through the field throughout the race, really.
Yeah, starting off, I had a really bad Daytona duels last week and had to start in 21st, and then realized that, at the beginning of this race, a lot of folks were kind of half throttle, and allowed me to find my way up to fifth, top five, and kind of sat there for a little while and kind of gained some track position and get some bonus points there at the stage break. So from then on, knew I had a good fast car, and it handled well, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun. So I felt like it felt good to be competitive in an Xfinity car again. It's been a season that I took off and went to Cup, and back here in Xfinity, it feels good to be back and ready to run for wins.
Yeah, I remember that. It looked like a pretty big change. I ran with you in that Cup season, and it was pretty different. But you're back in a car that you were very familiar with, and it's kind of what you started with here with the Speed Racing Network. You kind of got through the chaos of Daytona, and you got out of here with a great finish. What's kind of next on your looking forward to radar? You got Las Vegas next week. Maybe how can you do there, and then kind of what are you looking forward to in the future?
Yeah, goal is just to keep on trying to get some good finishes, get some wins under the belt for the season, get that confidence up. I know we've got a good team behind us in Phoenix Virtual Racing. Yeah, goal is just to get comfortable and have some fun and enjoy every minute, because this is it feels great to be in a car that you feel like you're driving, you have control over, you can kind of manhandle. Cup cars just don't feel that way. There's a lot. You just don't feel like you're driving the car very well, and so good to have that feel back in this car and run for a win, and ultimately for a championship.
Well, there you are. Third place finisher Drew Ballesteros out of Phoenix Virtual Racing. A great run tonight, and best luck to you next week at Las Vegas.
Thank you.
And that was driver of the number 8. Number 54, Drew Ballesteros. Brandon Burkhart, he did confirm that he blew up there at the end, and everyone had to kind of dodge and avoid V8 machine, and unfortunately it caused the pile up there at the end, but it did allow us for a great overtime finish. And after it was all said and done, a team that took it pretty hard tonight was Jonathan Bayer Racing, and we have JB here with the number 13 team. And Jonathan, man, it looked like all of y'all just couldn't get any luck tonight, man. You had the highs of last night, but tonight was a rough one for y'all.
Yeah, I think I put the pressure on my guys, because before the race started, I was like, "Hey, we need to do what those truck guys did last night on our team," and yeah, that's pretty hard to beat, because these super speedway races are half luck, half skill, and I think we're okay on the skill department. I think we're lacking a little bit on the luck department after this one. But it was an incredible race. I mean, I was sitting kind of buying my time in the back, kind of what I do most of the time on these racetracks, most of the race. So I was able to watch a lot of the action, and it was fun. We had a little bit of everything. There was a lot of good battles. There was strategy. You're trying to find teammates, and at the end, I just didn't find myself in the best track position, and you really can't go through cars when they're 3 wide. So I kind of just sat back there and let the chaos happen on the backstretch, and took everything we could get as far as positions, and ended up 11th. So anytime I can get a top 15 at these tracks, I'm all for it, because it avoids me having to use it as a drop week, and it's a good point start to the season with added to the dual points. So wish we had a little bit more, obviously, for the team, but overall, we all finished the race, so that's usually a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, it was a rough one, but I think the perseverance of bringing it to the checkers there at lap 90, I mean, that's going to speak volumes, and that's going to go a long way when it comes to, working with these guys later on in the season. And speaking about later on in the season, next up is Las Vegas, and there's plenty of diversity along the rest of the schedule. So, how do you feel about maybe your chances next week, and what are you kind of looking forward to here in the coming weeks?
I really like the schedule this year. Me and the team at SRN have done a really good job of creating a good balance with a ton of different tracks. And, it's our first year using custom built fixed setup. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So I'm really excited about a lot of the tracks, especially the intermediates. I tend to have the best runs there, the Vegas, Texas, not Atlanta anymore, unfortunately. Chicagoland, those tracks. Not a road course racer very much, so not really looking forward to those races, but they're fun. They're a challenge. And we are taking this series to Road America, which is one of my favorite tracks, so that'll be fun. But there's a lot to look forward to for sure. Watching the first 3 races of the SRN Season 5 this year, if it's any indication of what we're going to see the rest of the year, it's going to be can't miss action, I think.
Well, there you go. A chance to hear from kind of the new head of things going on here at Speed Racing Network, Jonathan. Once again, want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to put these shows on this season, because we're going to create something special. And the group of drivers we have in these 3 series, it's going to put on some great racing. As if we can tell anything from these weeks, they were mostly green flag races, at least the last 2 nights. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're super excited. And thank you for being our director of media this year and kind of taking over the broadcast. You've done a great job. Adam, great job in your broadcast debut tonight. You did fantastic. Added a good touch of experience because you did this exact same thing a couple days earlier. So I'm sure you could add a lot of value there. And we're also super thankful to all the partners that have made SRN possible this year. EPI, Select Bind, Z Grills, Glitch, Fiverr, Admin Box, to name a few. There's a ton more. You can go to speedracingnetwork.com and read all about it. You can also go there and watch the latest race and view the current point standings, which for this series should be up in about an hour or so. Apart from that, I want to thank all the Jonathan Byer Racing drivers for bearing with me. Obviously, there's been a lot of more work on our plate with SRN this year, but they've stepped up and helped out and done a great job. And we have amazing partners at JBR as well. I got to shout out Longo Toyota Prosper for being on my car tonight. If you're in North Texas and need a Toyota, they got you. They're on my super speedway races for the year, so you'll see them once more when we go to Talladega.
We also have a lot of exciting series merchandise that's up on the Speed Racing Network store now. Is there any particular pieces of merch that if you got a family member who's in the series or you're watching right now and you want to get something, is there anything you want to call out? I believe there's a sale going on too.
There is. So if you go to speedracingnetwork.com/shop, it'll go right to our online store. And our online store, you don't have to worry about stock or anything like that because it's print on demand. We have shirts, hats, mugs, stickers, hoodies, all kinds of good stuff. Right now, there's 15% off, and there's 4 more days of that. So if you order before the end of the day on July 2nd, you can get that 15% off. Just click that redeem button on top. But if you see something in the store that maybe not be there, but you can click the customize button and create any piece of merchandise you want. You can add your own logos, your own numbers. So what we've seen a couple drivers do is buy an SRN hoodie and then upload the picture of their number and put it on the sleeve, which I think is really cool. The deal does apply to all that as well. So go to speedracingnetwork.com/shop. You can view all the stuff there. It's also where we're going to be adding a couple teams merchandise as well. So some of your favorite teams you can shop, like JBR and Bird Dog will be in there for sure. But there'll be a couple more added soon. So check back from time to time. We run about 3 to 4 specials every quarter. So pay attention to Speed Racing Network social media channels and you won't miss a thing.
All right, there it is. Once again, I want to thank Jonathan Byer for coming on up, even with the 11th place finish. To Jonathan, he said that's just kind of being able to get out of here and not use it as a drop week, huh?
That's right. If we can make the drop weeks be absolutely oops moments and keep the 11th place finishes at the super speedways in there, I think we're doing all right.
Well, for Jonathan and Byer Racing, as much frustration as you guys had, you finished 7th, 11th, and 12th through your top 3. So that's still, if that's your off week, you guys are in good shape for this year.
Yeah, and Emerson can speak to it. The mantra of JBR since the very beginning, way back in season 1 of Speed Racing Network, we were just that team that, we didn't blow everybody out of the water with raw speed, but we'd finish all the races. We'd just be consistent. We kind of got away from that last year, and it kind of created a mess for us. So we've tried to refocus on what made JBR and go back to the season 1, 2, and 3 of SRN, where we were winning races and winning the team championship. And we're as close to that now as we've been in a long time. So we're excited about it. We're trying to get back to that methodology. And you can go to jbuyerracing.com and shop our merchandise as well. And then check out all our amazing partners that help make it happen every week.
Well, there it is. Driver of the number 13. Not just the driver, though. Owner of Jonathan Buyer Racing, president of SRN. He's got like 17 titles, but his man makes things
Commander-in-Chief, Jonathan Buyer.
That's right.
He makes things go round here, and can't thank him enough for just everything that's kind of been brought to light here with this 5th season of SRN. And Jonathan, congratulations on finishing. Best luck to you next week at Las Vegas. I know you got some work to do, so I'll leave you to it, man.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Yes, sir. There it is. Driver of the number 13, Jonathan Buyer. And, well, that kind of wraps up the interview portion we've got this evening. But, of course, we have some race results to go through tonight. And we can see kind of how everyone came to the checkers. And we'll get a replay of that wild last lap here in just a moment. But, of course, Tyler Justice with the race victory tonight, just 1,000ths. No, that's 100ths. I can count. 4 100ths over Max Service. Drew Ballesteros comes home 3rd in that Thoto finish as well. Dustin Montgomery 4th. Adrian Schumacher rounds out the top 5. Paul Bliss comes home in 6th. Gabriel Ellison 7th. Jesse Nakula rounds out in 8th. And from then on, it was people kind of crawling to the line. Adam Pettit 9th. Sean Powell rounds out the top 10. Adam, why don't you go ahead and walk us through the next 10 drivers?
In 11th, Jonathan Buyer. 12th, Logan Truitt. 13th, Kyle Ryan. 14th, Seth Reed. 15th, Scott Kalal. 16th, we got Jonathan Cofield. 17th, Seth Berger. 18th, Blake Hensley. 19th, Christian Swenson. 20, Mr. Ricky Bobby Anderson. 21, the last, well, you can take it for here, Emerson.
Danny Dow comes home 21st, the last driver on the lead lap. 22nd, it's David Robertson. 1 lap off the pace, does not bring it back around. Nathan De La Rosa, 1 lap off the pace as well. John Holiday with the penalty and caught up in a wreck. He'll finish 24th, 1 lap off the pace. And drivers not bringing it home to the checkers. Brandon Burkhart, James Harris, Jackson Wade, 16 laps off the pace. Some rough nights for them, but plenty of time to make amends and turn things around tonight. And Adam, it was your broadcast debut tonight, so what was it like for you to kind of get a new look at things when it comes to racing? And tonight here at Daytona, it was a pretty good show for you to join up here in the virtual booth for.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure to be able to step into the broadcast booth. I'm new to iRacing. I've gotten into it this last December. And so pretty new, kind of, 6 months or so into iRacing, and just trying to learn as much as possible to see how far I can take this thing. I'm really enjoying getting into the truck series and getting into my first real competitive iRacing series, and then being able to get the opportunity to broadcast as well. It's a different angle up here. When you're racing in these, especially the super speedway races, so much of what's going on in the race is stuff that doesn't happen. It's people deciding to lift, to not make a move, to not block, to not do a lot of things that's hard to see from the broadcast booth. But at the same time, there's a lot of big picture decisions that when you're racing, it's you get so caught up in the moment, tight grip on the steering wheel, heart rate through the roof. It's easy to kind of lose sight of the big picture sometimes of how to attack a track like this. And I feel like I'm learning a lot getting to see folks from, all these great racing teams to be able to learn from them and, take lessons away so I can continue to get better in my own racing.
Absolutely. And we'll get one look at that last lap incident. It looks like that was the number 10 of Christian Swenson coming down, collecting the 77 of Seth Berger. And, on the last lap, everyone's wide open. It was on from there. They came up, they collected the 51 of Seth Reed. Looks like it was bodying there looks like that was the 35 or 36 there of Gabriel Ellison. They come across, they collect the 46 of Robertson, the 32 of Kalal. and many more gonna be involved in this one.
Yeah, part of the fun of having a super speedway kick off a season is it's a track that can create a lot of rivalries. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. All these different, all the drivers here, they're in their different team discords right now, watching the replays, trying to figure out who's at fault for some of these big incidents. And it's going to be interesting to see if there's any bad blood that carries on into the season. Seems like it was a
Ain't that the truth? And for what it's worth, what it looked like it was going to be a massive wreck, and while it did collect quite a bit of cars, I still think that wreck was a little small for how many cars were all packed up together like that. I mean, I think a great job from the field there to kind of keep it mostly together. We'll take one more look at this at speed, and we'll kind of wrap things up tonight. But you'll take a look at it. I mean, it's a 3-wide pack. There's nowhere to go. I think everyone's kind of just trying not to run over each other. The 84 Nakula, he caught the wall again. Everything just kind of unfolds here off of turn number 4. And it's Swenson into Berger, Nicklick, Ellison, Robertson, Kalal. Again, I think, you know, for what it's worth, that could have been a lot more cars.
Absolutely. And it also, I believe, I don't know if it's a series rule, but they could throw a caution flag and it would end the race right there, right? So the discretion to, you know, let him race to the finish line, at least from a viewer's standpoint, I love to see it. Love to see the racing back to the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's fine and all, especially it's a big track. The wreck would have cleared by the time these guys get around there on the cooldown lap. There's not like there's any safety vehicles to roll out. Like, that would have to happen in real life. So they were able to kind of do their own thing and let the race play out there towards the end. But with that, that's going to do it for us tonight. Just want to once again thank you all for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action here at Daytona, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Make sure you keep up with all of the the Speed Racing Network social media channels, our Facebook page at facebook.com/Speed Racing Network, our Twitter, twitter.com/Speed Racing Net, instagram.com/Speed Racing Network, our YouTube channel, of course, youtube.com/Speed Racing Network, our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Speed Racing Net. The LinkedIn, of course, is linkedin.com/company/Speed Racing Network, and of course, the website of Speed Racing Network, speedracingnetwork.com.
Make sure to connect on LinkedIn. And as a reminder for all the fans, next week it's 4th of July, so we do have an off week. And so it's going to be another week until we see everyone at Las Vegas, Sin City.
That's right. Next week is an off week. That's a great reminder. Tuesday night, or Tuesday is the 4th of July, so we won't make these Shirists come and, you know, spend a night with us and, you know, maybe wreck on their sins. We'll let them spend time with their family and kind of enjoy, you know, the freedoms that Americans get to experience, and we'll bring it back the following week for Las Vegas. But for all, at Speed Racing Network, Adam Schaefer alongside myself, Emma, for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time when Speed Racing Network takes to Sin City.